Hi all, welcome to my video where I draw a high street shopfront. This one is located in Ireland and it also includes a tree as well. So I'm gonna go through the steps of drawing a tree. But first off, I had to get the basic measurements of the drawing. So as you can see on the right hand side of my screen, I roughly got the measurements or got the approximate measurements by counting the amount of blocks that we can see of the height of the building. And then I estimated the width of the building by allowing 1.5 meters for that central doorway, and then multiplying that by about 6. Just looking at it, it looks like the width of the building is about 6 times that door width. It's not exact, but that is generally how I get the rough dimensions of my buildings. So as you can see, I have used that blockwork to get the height. I've drawn lines across the building from that blockwork, and I'm using that blockwork to get the heights of these windows, for example. So I know that from the photo, a window is 6 blocks tall. So that's how I'm managing to draw these windows in. It's also how I got the height of the shop front on the ground floor with the glazing and the signage. I just look at how many blocks high it is and I draw it across from there. I then draw in other features like windowsills, and I keep referring back to my measurements that I drew out earlier or sketched out earlier to get the height of the roof, for example. I also go into Google Street View and I look at the building from different angles, and that helps me determine the size of some elements as well. So on the roof we have some chimneys. These are made of brickwork, so again this helps me to determine how tall the chimneys are. A brick is approximately 75 millimeters tall. If the chimney stack has 10 bricks, then it's 750 millimeters tall. It's examples like that I use to get the height of these chimneys. So I'm drawing everything in pencil to begin with, just using my mechanical pencil and just drawing lightly because I'll be rubbing this out later once I've drawn it in pen. I've clipped out a lot of the mistakes I make along the way, but trust me, I do make mistakes, so it's important to draw the pencil in lightly so that I can erase it whenever I need. So yeah, I've just finished the outline of the roof and now I'm trying to get the position of the chimney. So looking at the photo, I can see that the chimney is just to the left of this window. So I will position it just there. Yeah, all right. So here I am getting the hip roof into position. Just by looking at the photo again, it looks like it's just above that top right hand window. So that determines the slope. And then that chimney is just to the left of the window. But using the heights that I worked out from my calculations earlier. The brickwork also helps me determine the width of the chimneys. If there's 2 full bricks wide, then it's about 450 millimeters because each brick is about 2 to 5 millimeters long. So it helps just to understand the standard sizes of elements such as bricks and blocks. Now I've just drawn the outline of my tree very lightly, but very squiggly, as you can see. And I'm pretty much happy with the main elements now drawn in pencil. So I'm going to go over all of this in pen. I have my 0.05 millimeter nib fine liner pen and just going over the outlines that we have drawn in pencil. Now, because I've drawn the outline of the tree, I know where to not draw in ink. So I'm drawing this window in ink, but I'm making sure I only draw to the edge of the tree outline. Same with the shop front. I draw it across the page, across the front of the building, but I stop where I meet the tree. And there I am just inking in the outline of the corner block work. And then going over those chimneys that I drew in pencil, I'm going over them in ink now. While I go over in ink, I add in more detail. For example, the brick bandwork, or the brick banding at the top of the chimneys, and the chimney pots themselves. I haven't measured the chimney pots, I'm just doing it by eye, what I think looks right, and that's why I'm doing it in pencil here, just to make sure that I'm happy with how it looks. If I'm not, I'll rub it out and do it again. But in this case, I'm happy with how it looks. So I'm going over the chimney pots in ink. And then it's time to move on to the roof. There's a bit of flashing drawn in there. Again, it's not measured, it's pretty much done by eye. I go into a lot more detail on my Patreon page. I draw in real time and show the video in real time. So it's pretty easy to follow step by step. Again, just going over the outline of the roof in ink and horizontally skipping over the chimney stacks. And at the top of the roof we have the ridge tiles, so I've just dropped my ruler down about 2 mm for this scale, just to give it a ridge line. For the hipped section, I place my ruler over the first line and just move it over a couple of millimeters, so that's parallel with the original slanted line. And there we are down to the edge of the roof. Just got to draw in the gutter as well, just not even measuring this, just allowing a couple of millimeters for the thickness of that gutter. So that's the outline of the building drawn in ink. Now it's time to move on to the tree. So it is just trying to draw a very squiggly lines, not continuous, just drawing it in squiggly sections. I don't want to make it too much of a perimeter, and just try and replicate lots of little leaf shapes. I then add in more kind of cloud-like shapes in squiggly lines, and try and draw in the odd branch at the base of the tree to show a bit of structure. And at the top of each branch then draw another squiggly cloud of leaves. I then add in more little leaf shapes. I will be concentrating most of the leaf work down towards the base of the tree, because that's where it looks more dense as the light hits the top of the tree. I add more little leaf shapes to the outline perimeter of the tree. And I'm quite happy with that for now. I'll come back to it later. But now it's time to add more details to the architecture of the building. So there I'm drawing in the window frames, not measuring it, um, but just allowing a couple of millimeters for the thickness of the frames. I've positioned the mid rail in the middle of the window, the horizontal mid rail. And once I was happy with it, I just go over it in ink. I also go up to the roof and draw in horizontal lines for the slate work, for the slates on the roof. I literally count the amount of rows from the photo and divide it into the space I have in my drawing. I then create staggered vertical lines for the slate work, and then add in more details to embellish the drawing, such as this flower box, tiny little leaf-like shapes on the windowsill. I always shade in my windows to add depth to the drawing. Start off lightly and make it as heavy as I go along. It's easier to start off with light pencil work and get darker. I've also embellished the drawing by adding some curtains to those top two windows. I apply varied pressure of pencil work to the roof just to give a bit of a textured surface. And then I go back to the tree to add in some shading. So I'm going to create most of the dark shading towards the base of the tree because that is where less sunlight will get to. But again here I apply different pressure to the pencil for different areas, different little areas of the tree. Trying to pick up all the different areas where there's light branches and dark branches, as I can see in the photo. Then to make more of the architectural features stand out, I add in some shadows. For example, the window reveals. I want to make the windows read as if they are just stepped further in from the wall. So I place a piece of paper parallel to the edge of the window and add in a slither of dark pencil for the shading. I do the same for the tops of the windows. The edge of the piece of paper just allows me to be consistent with my shading. It ensures I don't shade outside the lines. I also add more shadows to other features, such as just below the shop front. Using my 2H pencil for these. And then take out my mechanical pencil because that creates darker, more precise shading. So I'm applying that to the tree. I've already used my 2H pencil to create the shading, but this mechanical pencil is softer, so it creates darker areas. I'm quite happy with the drawing done by now. I've moved on to the text. Please see my Patreon where I have done a whole video on text tutorials and how I create architectural style text. It's quite a nerve-wracking point, but I have to make sure that I've spelt it correctly and I go slowly with my ink. And then once that's dried off, I rub out my pencil work, and that is the drawing pretty much done. So there we have it, my drawing of a shop front on a high street in Ireland with its own tree. Please like and subscribe my videos for more, and I'd also like to thank my Patreon followers. On Patreon I have a lot more videos. They show my drawing progress in real time from start to finish, and I explain it along the way. It's also an opportunity for my Patreon followers to ask questions and I can answer them uh, either direct messaging or via comments. So if you want to see more of that, do go and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.